Knicks upset the Celtics, and the Pacers upset the Cavaliers to reach the Eastern Conference Finals entering the playoffs. The Knicks were plus 3,000 to win the NBA title, and Pacers plus 8,000. The Pacers were a perfect 5-0 in games featuring clutch time this postseason, while the Knicks are 6-2. Clutch Player of the Year Jalen Brunson leads all players with 43 points in clutch time, with Haliburton recording 20 points. This will be the 9th playoff series between the Knicks and the Pacers all time, in a rematch of last year's conference semis when the Pacers took down the Knicks in a Game 7 at MSG. Jalen Brunson just using last season as a bit of motivation.
It still kind of bothers me, but I mean, I feel like once you get into the season, you start thinking about the next game and everything like that. Obviously, it was a missed opportunity last year playing them at home in Game 7, regardless of who we had out there.
A man joining me now that knows New York all too well, Peter Rosenberg. Peter, great to have you with us. Obviously, Gilbert still here, and of course, SA. Peter, I'm going to start with you.
Peter's been looking a little political. Peter's been looking a little political, like he's running for office or something.
Well,
I mean, I'm not. It's not an insult. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with the look. I'm very pleased. I would know. All right, well, let's go.
Okay. Peter, who's the player with the most to prove in the Eastern Conference Finals?
To me, guys, there's a lot of people you could pick, but this is a no-brainer. It is Karl-Anthony Towns, and I'll tell you why. It starts with the way that Cat got here. Let's not forget about this deal, which completely changed this team, and you guys know this, Stephen A., you know it very well. A lot of New Yorkers were sick to their stomach thinking about sort of the toughness that they may have lost with Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and what they brought to this team. You bring in Cat, he gets questioned for how hard he could be on defense. Does he have that toughness? Had a great regular season. He's been inconsistent in this playoffs, though he's had big moments. And he has an opportunity here to be the guy, has a major matchup against Miles Turner. And we cannot remove this part. It's not only about Cat as a player and how he got here. Cat is from this area. He's a Dominican from here. This is home. He understands what this means. And we know, Stephen A., Jalen Brunson is already etched in stone. He is a Knick lifer. We know who Jalen Brunson is. Cat's legacy has not yet started, and this week is the beginning of that legacy potentially truly starting.
You might want to loosen your tie up just a little bit, because if you think Cat has the most to prove, you're wrong, because it is Tyrese Haliburton. The way this summer started for him, where he was on the USA team, basically a cheerleader, third wheel if most of us are going to ask. This year he was voted the most overrated player in the NBA, averaging 18 and 9, really dominating, in his position. And the fact that his peers voted him the most overrated, I think this series right here will let everybody know he is a real player. He is a great player. And I think that this is his moment. I don't think he's had a moment in the playoffs yet. And I think this is his moment. He needs to go from being the architect to the assassin. And you're playing against Brunson, and you're playing in Madison Square Garden.
That's big coming from you, Gil, because of what we saw Haliburton do in one of the games in Cleveland, where he ultimately closed them out. But I get what you're saying, and I agree with you, but for different reasons. I'm thinking Tyrese Haliburton, Peter, with Gil instead of Karl-Anthony Towns. But the reason I'm thinking about Tyrese Haliburton is also because of what we're seeing from Jalen Brunson. If y'all will remember, years ago when it was coming into the draft, I wanted the New York Knicks to draft Haliburton. They needed a point guard. This is before Brunson arrived, obviously. They needed a point guard. And they drafted O.B. Toppin instead. And I'm like, that ain't what you need. That's not what you need. And I had a real problem with that. And Tyrese Haliburton, to me, has shown he can play. The flip side to it, however, is that Jalen Brunson has established himself as a star, as a superstar in this game. When you look at Jalen Brunson, since he has arrived in New York City 3 years ago, do y'all know he's the leading scorer in the postseason over the last 3 years, averaging 30? 30. That's what he's doing. Gil, you know what I'm talking about. You averaged 35, damn it, in the postseason, especially against LeBron. You know what I'm talking about. This brother brings it. And so because he's bringing it, right, you have a situation where you're looking at Haliburton and you're like, what's up? Now, Gil, I'm going to come back to you with this. When a player is rated overrated, I want you, Gil, to tell our audience what that means for a player to be labeled that by other players. How serious should that be taken? And most importantly, whether or not you believe it was justified for NBA players to literally label this dude overrated. Why do you think they would do that?
It's the most disrespectful thing you can, label a player, overrated, because, it's has nothing to do with his actual skill level. It's usually that he talks a lot of trash or they don't like the style of his game. So the fact that he's been averaging almost a double-double for the last 3 years, being called overrated, it means he's really been doing his job, talking a little trash. If you really think about all the players that's in this category, you're talking about him, Trae Young, Westbrook when he was averaging triple-double. It's just the style, the trash talking, the flavor that they brings, and it just gets under people's skin. So you can't take it for really being overrated, because obviously, you're going to go to the end of some players' benches, to find a real overrated player. But Hali is that dude, and this is the series that he has to prove it. He has to have those moments.
I just think it sounds like hate. That whole idea, Stephen A., I thought it was so silly. The idea that Haliburton's overrated, I would say he's underrated, frankly, if anything. And I think it really is hate based on his personality. I happen to love the guy, big WWE guy. And by the way, you want to see a classic heel. The bad guy that this is about to be in New York, Haliburton has the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Reggie Miller and be an ultimate heel at MSG. So to me, Haliburton's established, as you see what he did at SmackDown at MSG, and now it's like Triple H booked the whole damn thing. And now we're going to get it. To me, Haliburton solidified as a player. Karl-Anthony Towns, while we know he's a great player, I don't believe he's solidified in New York yet. And I think that is such a huge, huge opportunity for him.
Yeah, the WWE certainly.
And not only that, hold on, Molly.
Yep.
It's also we can't forget who one of the all-time great heels were in New York, which is Reggie Miller, wearing the Indiana Pacers uniform. So Haliburton has to try to live up to that as well. But I also want to take a time on a serious note, just to tilt left. Let me see Peter and Gil when I say this. I want to tilt left in this regard. Let's give Haliburton credit as well because of what he's been through. When his father did what he did to Giannis, that could have been a major distraction. And one of the things that I applauded Haliburton about, and I'm not trying to throw any shade on his father. Everybody makes mistakes. I thought he should have been called to the carpet when it happened, but now it's over. I wouldn't mind seeing the man back in the stadium rooting for his son. Just don't let something like that happen again and we move on. But I do think it's important to point this out. Haliburton, in the immediate aftermath of that, at the post game, was like, yo, my father was wrong. And then you're looking at people, and this is in the same time that he was labeled overrated. And then he comes out on the court in the next series, and he's balling again. Yeah. He has not let anything distract him. And guess what? That's the sign of kind of the ingredient that you need to go not only up against somebody like Brunson, who is going to bring it, but it's to perform at the Garden, because distractions are everywhere, and he's shown that he's ready for it.
And he was able to compartmentalize, for sure. Stephen A., if the Pacers win Game 1, what would your panic level be?
I wouldn't say panic, because I believe the New York Knicks could go into Indiana and win a game. I wouldn't like it. I think the New York Knicks need to get every opportunity that they can. I think this is a pick'em series. As much as I love the New York Knicks, and I'm rooting for them, we all know this, okay? I know that the Indiana Pacers can beat the New York Knicks. Now, let's keep in mind, however, last year, the New York Knicks pushed them to 7 games. This is when OG Anunoby went down in Game 2. Couldn't play I think it's Game 2 or Game 3. Couldn't play until Game 7 and only could play like 5 minutes in Game 7. Hart got hurt. Brunson got hurt as well. So the residue of that is fresh with the New York Knicks, who are probably sitting there now saying, we ain't injured now. We healthy now. Let's get it on. And obviously the Indiana Pacers are hell-bent on proving that last year was no fluke. So I expect this to be a 7-game series as well.
Have you been in New York lately? Huh? Have you been in New York?
New York? You saw me there Friday night. You saw me there Friday night, Gilbert.
Front row.
Okay, because you in OKC talking all this mess. You know if they lose Game 1, out there, they're gonna flip the city like pancakes. It's gonna be DEFCON 1 out there in New York City. Oh no, they can't lose game 1. The way the crowd has been thriving out there off of what this team has been doing has been amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. I've never seen nothing like it. I mean, I wish we could have them come down here for that 2020 championship that we didn't get a parade for, because they're giving parades off second round wins. So I really believe that New York needs to stamp game 1, because I think the emotion of the city needs it.
But let me tell you, Gil,
I will say.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I would just say this real quick. They lost. Last year, the New York Knicks took the first 2 games of the series. And obviously, after OG went down, they Indiana won, 4 games over the next 5. Because of that, I would be very nervous if Indiana won game 1. But I firmly believe this is going 7 games. This series is going 7 games again.
Yeah, I would almost bet money, Gil, that both of these teams win on the road. I see what you're saying. Believe me, we were out there doing our show, Don Hahn and Rosenberg, at Fan Plaza for ESPN New York last week. It's insane. The atmosphere is amazing. But, Gil, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've been in New York 18 years. I'm from D.C. Been here 18 years. These people are crazy. It doesn't matter if they lose game 1. They're going to be the same in game 2 and when they come back in game 5. So I see why you would say that, but I really do expect both teams to win on the road, and I don't think it would kill this team to lose game 1.
You're not entirely accurate there, Peter. You're not entirely accurate there, Peter. The New York Knicks, when they went up 2-0 on Boston, the atmosphere was electric in game 3. When Boston blew them out, game 4, it went from being electric to, y'all can't lose this game. We scared we're going to lose this game. So there was a little bit of paranoia that seeped in. All right. And obviously, so Gil has a point in that regard about game 1. Maybe not to that degree, but when Boston smacked them around in game 3, the atmosphere was different for game 4. And then it was on another level off the charts for game 6.
But remember, the fans were also shook going into game 3 because everyone thought game 1 and 2 were a fluke that the Knicks stole. So they stole 1 and 2. Yeah. They get blown out in 3. Oh, they're not really here. And then, of course, you see what happens in 4. We get Brunson time. But, yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm not sold on Indiana. I'm sorry. They beat a hurt Bucks team, and they beat a hurt Cleveland Cavaliers team. So they haven't been tested yet. I'm just going to be honest with you. The Knicks they beat last year was hurt. That was last year. This is a new year. Brunson is a new man. OG has to be better. But for the most part, this team is ready. And I think this is going 5. I'm sorry. I think this is a 5.
5?
Yes, 5.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. And that's fine.
Bing bong. Get with the program. Orange and blue. I've jumped on the bandwagon already, okay? I got my Tim boots ready to go.
All right.
Okay.